so much bounty with free market capitalism, so much competition, and the good envy, not just the bad envy, but the envy of emulation that makes people want to excel. You create excess, they call it luxus, or word for luxury. And you give the people so much protected liberty and freedom, they don't always get up in the forum or the agora or the ecclesia and want to talk about the dialogue of Plato. They want sometimes get up and say, he should be executed because I don't like the way he looks, free speech. And so, in a lot of the, I call them the nihilistic tradition, and you know it really took hold in Germany with Oswald Spengler or Nietzsche or Hegel. They said the problem with the West is, when you're very free, you're very wealthy, you're very successful, it's not its failure. I mean, after all, ask yourself, in 480, just 17 city-states were left. They had an army no longer bigger than 50,000 people, and they defeated 400,000 Persians coming from the north. That's Salamis and Plataea. Fast forward 150 years later, and now they're much wealthier. They have a much larger army and navy in the 4th century. They can't stop 30,000 motley northerners under Philip of Macedon, and they lost their freedom. And at Cannae, or at Zama, compared to the Goths and the Vandals, the Goths and the Vandals were jokes compared to Hannibal in the Punic Wars. But something that happened in that interim. Now, something we have to be very careful because the anecdote to it is important. So we're all very wealthy. We're the wealthiest generation in civilization's history. We're the freest. We can do almost anything we want thanks to technology. But how in the West, when you have all of those choices and liabilities, what prevents people from going out and saying, you know, try pigs in a blanket, or trying to attack a police thing, or throwing a Molotov cocktail in a pig, or, you know, putting just the most deplorable pornography on the internet, or a Christian person? What stops a person from doing that in the West? It's legal. You have the money and the time to do it. One of the things that was so striking about all of these BLM and Antifa demonstrations, that everybody would say to them, do they have to work? How can they? No, they don't. There's enough bounty. Milton Friedman once said, yeah, the country's going to hell, but there's a lot of rot in this country. And I think he was channeling something that Adam Smith said. There's a lot of rot in capitalism that when people say it can't go on, it does go on more than you think. We're a lot more successful than we think. We have a lot of people who died and created a lot of institutions and protocols and histories for us to follow, but they're dead, but that fumes from their lives are still there, so it takes a lot to destroy it. We're doing our best, but it's taking a lot longer than the destroyers want. And so the anecdote to that was, traditionally in the West, there was an anecdote. Plato talked about it, Aristotle talked about it, Thucydides implied it, Tacitus was so very, and of course the New Testament. And the anecdote was, you don't really have to do what you're legally able or financially or economically able to do. And you don't have to do that because you have pressures. You have pressures. You don't want to disgrace your parents or your grandparents or your family name, or you belong to a religion. Christianity says, you know, what you do in this world, you have a soul. You may not think you have a soul, but you do have a soul, and there is going to be a reckoning in the hereafter. So don't do what you're capable of doing. Don't harm other people. Don't harm your soul. And there's also a community, and you don't want to be disgraced. We're talking about a shame culture rather than a guilt culture. Rather than private guilt alone, we had a shame culture in the West. And so traditions, family, religion, community, all of these things, and also public pressures. So if you made